Hello everybody, your bipolar Care Bear is here. I have been, trying to take very good care of myself and my mental health. I will be making an official update and putting it on my channel and talking about the difficulties that I've been having with my medication and my bipolar diagnosis, and I'll go into depth in another video, but this is the reason why I've been missing. That being said, my channel is still very new, so the few followers that I do have, if you get to see this video, hi, I'm back. I missed you, But today I thought I would come back into the fold with a good old how to wash your makeup brushes video. I know there's a ton of them out there. I, on the other hand, think that explaining why you're doing it with product that you can find and afford is what I want to give you today. There's some simple things that you can get on Amazon, other things you can get at Sephora. The brushes, you can get your brushes anywhere, but I wanted to talk about both synthetic and real hair brushes, how to clean them, why I'm doing what I'm doing. It's one really great tip, rule of thumb for makeup brushes is, and makeup in general, is do not use your makeup when you are not feeling well. If you are sick, if you're under the weather, if you just are not fully well, I would definitely stray away from using your makeup, because makeup brushes and palettes can hold bacteria, which is why makeup artists never double dip their brushes. They don't put it on the person's eye and then put it in the palette. They actually scrape off the material and put it on a little pan. So yeah, you could probably get away with that, but you'd still be using a brush, and then you'd have to wash that brush when you're done being sick, because then all that bacteria will stay on the brush. I thank you for popping onto the channel. Thank you for watching the video if you do. Let me show you how I do what I do. Alright? Alrighty, so we've got our brushes, which are wonderfully and brilliantly dirty, especially this brush I used to set the makeup of my stepson when we did Halloween. This was my detailed brush with the white makeup. And this one was just me when I did a really cool orange look. So like I said, perfectly dirty, ready to go. So let's go over the materials that I'm going to be using. I have a silicone brush cleaner. It's very cute, very kawaii. But all these little bristles are different sizes, which is perfect to get in between all the bristles of the brush itself. You can also have it on the hand to keep it there for convenience or just quickly washing. I normally don't have it on my hand, but it's a great option. And then the RT Brush Cleansing Balm. This is from Sephora. It is very creamy and conditioning for the brushes, which is why I use it second to the cleanser. As you can see, the reason why is coconut oil, aloe, glycerin, all of those are hydrating property emollients that will keep those brushes lovely and soft when you're using real hair brushes. Then I got a charcoal stick from Sephora. It's just a brush cleanser stick. This one has a lot more suds than the cleansing balm. It still has a little bit of coconut oil in it, but also those other properties that give it that soapy suds. The bumps on it aren't anything, it's just the fact that I've been using it for a while. And it twists up and down kind of like lipstick, so then you can never really feel like you have to dig into the bottom of the container. Lastly, I have brush protecting mesh. I got this on Amazon for under $10. There's 60 of them. How they work is they're kind of, oh, come on, get the bag open. There we go. Get these for the brush, for the ends, because when you wash your brushes, they can be a little bit frayed. So what you do is you slip this on your brushes from the bottom up, and it keeps the bristles together in a uniform style. It's also very big for any size brush that you may be putting it on. Now you'll see me put those on every brush after I finish washing them, which is what we're going to do now. Let's get the water to warm, not hot, but a little bit on the higher warm side. It's winter, so it's taking it a while, but there we go. Get your silicone. I could put it on my hand, I could, but I really like to keep it in the bottom of the sink just to have that running water on it. It's just a preference, doesn't mean it's right or wrong. So you start with the charcoal stick, you pick out any brush you want. This is my dirtiest right now, so I'm going to start with this one, and I get it wet, 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 wet. I even press the water into the bristles to make sure that it is fully saturated inside and out, and start doing some swirling motions on the cleanser. Now when it comes to big brushes, sometimes you need more water in the brush or on the cleanser to really get it sudsing. As you can see, I really got this brush wet enough so that it could get sudsy, and all that stuff's just coming off right easy. But the thing about big brushes is those bristles, they're tightly woven sometimes, especially with like pressing powder bristles that are good for like compact foundation. You gotta really spread those bristles, so pushing that water into there is really good. Still swirling. Like I said, this brush is atrociously dirty. So I want to start off with all the soap that I need, get it a little bit more wet, and then start with the circular motions on the scrubbing pad, doing brush strokes, circles, trying to get it through all of the different sizes of, I don't know, scrubbers. I'm going to call them scrubbers. That way all that product comes out. You can see it's brown as heck because the powder and the product was so deeply placed into the brush that I needed to really separate those bristles by doing those brush stroke motions, circles, and everything. When you're pushing all of this around in your brush, yes, it is a fact that bristles are glued into brushes, but if you can keep that brush tilted downward, at least at an angle, the entire time you're doing your cleansing, you will find that your brushes last way longer than if you didn't do that, because it's glue and the bristles are glued in, so water, glue, bad, obviously. And as you can see, the water is beginning to run clear, which is a great indication that all parts of this brush are clean and ready to be wrapped up. A couple more strokes is always good, and then what you do is you turn the water a little bit less warm and you squeeze the water out of the brush, the bristles. So you run it a few times to make sure the water is clear, but you really squeeze them together while tilting the brush down. This is essential to make sure all the extra water is out, and it doesn't take forever to dry it. I like to fluff it a little bit so I can see inside all those bristles. As you can see, we are pink and perfect once again. You can even try to spread the bristles a little bit if you need to check. I think I did a pretty good job. Sometimes they take on color permanently, but it just depends on the brush and the product. And like I said, slip it on from underneath, slide it all the way up and over those top bristles, even giving it like a little point at the tip. There you go. And now this brush is ready to be set aside because it's all done, clean, wrapped. This is going to help those brushes hold that shape so that we don't get frayed brushes or things like that. The one thing that's really important for these is when you use them on something like this, like these natural brushes, but I'm going to probably wash that at the end and start with this one. This one is the most crunchy, cakey brush that I have. I used a lot of setting spray and a lot of black eyeshadow for Halloween on my stepson, so I want to try to work with this one on camera so you can see the process with brushes that have a lot of setting spray. This is my favorite brush when I want to apply glitter with setting spray or shimmers or foils. It's a really great compact brush that takes the spray really well. So I want to still do those swirling motions. As you can see, it's coming out very nicely. It's just swirling and flicking, swirling and flicking. And for this one, you can see very clearly when it's dirty, when it's clean. You rinse it, you rub it, you rinse it, you rub it, you rinse it, you rub it. And it's, you know, kind of like rinse, rub, repeat, if you will. It's a system that works, at least so far for me. I've taken on these tips and tricks and other people, but I never really found the products that they were talking about or knew where to get them. So I thought, okay, well, if I can show you how I do it, then that would be great. And once again, give it a press. The water is running clear. We're looking good and finished. So you want to flick it around a little bit under the water. And when the water is off, squeeze all that extra water out while tilting the brush down. That's essential. This is also not a natural hair brush, so we're going to skip the balm part of it and just slip on our protector. Now, I know the bristles are small and we're thinking, oh, well, maybe you can go without it. I am always just on the cautious side to make sure that even my flat, small brushes don't sway out. And when you have them drying, have them sitting on the edge of something so that airflow can get through the brushes. That's really important. Next is this brush here, natural hair brush. Natural bristles, human hair. It's kind of gross, but also kind of awesome. They work really well for makeup, but they are kind of finicky when washing. And you'll see kind of how that is. So what we'll do is when we're done washing, we're going to use the cleansing balm for this one. Once again, it's because of the coconut, the glycerin, the aloe, oil from olives. I mean, come on, like, it's wonderful for a human hair bristle. I mean, I put those things in my hair all the time. So why wouldn't you put it in your brushes? So getting this one wet, starting off, rinsing that little stick so we don't transfer more color into it, and just little painter strokes. The thing about some natural hair brushes is you can't really wash them as vigorously as your synthetics, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't wash them. It just means that when you're doing these, as you can see, I'm not really spreading the bristles out too harshly by pressing them into the soap. I'm really just doing those painter strokes back and forth, up and down, and I'll do the same thing once I get it onto the scrubby mat that we have below, just so that it doesn't separate those bristles, fray them out, or cause a lot of irritation. See, I'm using very gentle brushing strokes. I'm using the smallest little bristle scrapers at first, kind of going into the waves a little bit, but nothing too aggravating. I'm not really even using swirling motions because that'll just push the bristles out and away from each other. And that's the one thing with natural hair bristles, is they're really great to have, but their care is more finicky than a synthetic. A lot of the times what people end up having, it's almost like split ends on the sides, and that's something that is and is not preventable. I'll show you what I mean. So once we get the balm on it, I like to put water inside the balm so it kind of creates like this little slush, and just swirl it around. As you can see, it definitely has the kind of texture that aloe would have. I mean, obviously because it has aloe in it, but it's very hydrating. It's just like putting a face mask on, or a, hair mask, really, which is great for the bristles, great for the brush. Once again, gentle strokes, kind of scooping some of it so that it falls into the deeper bristles. And then once you're done, you can give it a nice little scrub one more time, because it is still a cleanser. So you can rub it one more time through, really make sure it gets into those deeper bristles, keeping everything soft and supple. And that way you don't have a really frayed out synthetic or natural brush, because it is much more tedious or sensitive than the synthetic. So we're all done, and as you can see, there's this tiny little hair that has been coming out. That will naturally happen. It doesn't mean your brush is falling apart. It's just what comes with natural hair brushes. So you rinse it just like you would, keeping it tilted down. Rule of thumb, don't forget it. If you forget anything else in this video, don't do that. And you squeeze out the liquid. And then once you're done squeezing, you may find that you have these little itty bitty hairs. I don't know if you can see them. There are these tiny fraying hairs on the sides of the brush that can get very frayed if you don't wrap them up, even more so than it is right now. Right now is just average fraying right there, but once you dry it, it can get even worse. So make sure that you have your brush protectors ready so that you can keep the shape. This one will fit perfectly into one of the brush protectors so that those hairs can stay close together and not separate out and become too frayed. I'm telling you, that's the biggest complaint about real hair brushes, is once you wash them, they're absolutely ruined, which is not the case. if you know how to clean them. And then you also want to put it down to the side, have some airflow in it, that way they can dry. You want to make sure you dry them that way as well, flat on a surface with them laid out, and there's a nice space between the brushes and the side of the table so the air can flow through, making sure that they dry properly. You don't want to lay them just on the towel. So I'm going to finish washing up all the rest of these, and then we'll be done. I'll show you the rest in a minute. See you in a minute. Okay, so I finished washing all my brushes. Now I'm going to wash the materials that I used. So I like to tap off the excess water on my scrubber, and I will rinse out inside and out my charcoal soap, basically. Bring it in, bring it out, and then I'm going to bring it in one more time. There's a little more suds in there, so then I dry it off. Dry off the cap, make sure that that's nice and clean, and then the balm also gets scrubbed out, and the lid for that too. Once those are all pretty and clean, I'm going to place them face down so they can dry, just like a good old cup in the kitchen. Same thing with the lid, set those face down. Make sure your hands are rinsed, then we're going to go put them to dry. And here is the drying station, for me at least. I have them on my desk, and I want them to hang off, but I don't want them to fall, so I'm going to tuck them in to the side of the towel. I'm going to do this with each brush, and I'm also going to make sure that there's space in between the brushes so that the air can go under and up and in between so that it'll dry a lot faster. I definitely think that this method for drying will work for all brushes. I definitely don't think this will be a few hours drying session. It'll be maybe about 24 hours, maybe, yeah, about 24 hours should do it. If you put them in the sun, that'll be even faster. So yeah, thanks for checking it out, hanging out. This is all the brushes. We'll see you later.